Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are going to tackle a big one, maybe one of the most influential frameworks for personal effectiveness ever, Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Let's start with a feeling I bet we all know way too well. You know, you're running around all day, your to-do list is a mile long, but when you finally hit the pillow, you feel like you haven't really moved the needle on anything that truly matters. You're just stuck, busy, but not really effective. That feeling, that's exactly what Covey's work is all about. But listen, this isn't about finding some new life hack or a magic productivity trick. Nope. This is a deep, principled, centered approach to change that starts from the inside. It starts with your character and then works its way out into your life. So the whole journey begins with what Covey called the private victory. What does that mean? It means you have to master yourself first. It's about moving from being dependent on other people for your happiness or direction to becoming truly independent. The absolute foundation for everything is habit 1, be proactive. It's a simple but totally profound idea that between what happens to you and how you respond to it, there's a little bit of space. And in that space, that's your power to choose. Effective people pour their energy into their circle of influence. You know, the stuff they can actually do something about. You know, you can actually hear this mindset in the words people use. Reactive people sound like victims, right? They say stuff like, I can't, or I have to. But proactive people, they're the drivers. They use the language of choice. I will, I choose, let's find a way. It might seem like a small shift in words, but believe me, it reflects a massive shift in personal power. Okay, on to habit 2. You know the saying, if you don't know your destination, any road will get you there, and you'll probably end up somewhere you didn't want to be. This habit is all about defining what success looks like for you, what your core values are. Creating a personal mission statement is kind of like writing the Constitution for your own life. So, once you have that end in mind from habit 2, the big question is, how do you actually live it out day to day? That's where habit 3 comes in. And this is crucial. It's not about trying to cram more stuff into your schedule. It's about organizing your life around what's most important to you. It's life management, not just time management. And this matrix just illustrates the idea perfectly. Most of us spend our lives in quadrant 1, just putting out fires and dealing with crises. And a lot of us get distracted by the fake urgency of quadrant 3. But here's the secret. Highly effective people, they intentionally spend most of their time right here in quadrant 2, working on things that are important but not urgent yet. This is where you plan, you build relationships, you prevent problems before they even start. All right, let's move on. Once you've achieved that private victory, that self-mastery, you've built the foundation you need for the public victory. This is where we shift from I to we and move into what Covey calls effective interdependence. This journey with other people starts with habit 4, think win-win. This is a total mindset shift. It's about seeing life as a cooperative space, not a competitive one. It's based on this core belief that there's plenty of success to go around for everybody. One person winning doesn't mean another person has to lose. But win-win solutions don't just magically appear. They're built on a foundation of trust. And Covey uses this brilliant metaphor of an emotional bank account. You make deposits with people through kindness, honesty, keeping your promises. A high balance in that account means you can collaborate and solve problems together. But a low or overdrawn account, man, that makes every single interaction a struggle. So how do you make those deposits of trust? Well, the single biggest way is through habit 5. And think about this for a second. Most of us, when we listen, we're not really trying to understand. We're just waiting for our turn to talk, right? We're already forming our reply in our head. This habit completely flips that script. It says, diagnose before you prescribe. Really, truly, deeply understand the other person first. And it turns out there are levels to this. Sometimes we're ignoring someone completely or just pretending to listen. But the real goal is to get to level 5 empathic listening. This is where you're not just listening with your ears, you're listening with your eyes and with your heart. You're trying to feel the emotion behind the words. So what happens when you combine that win-win attitude with deep empathic communication? You get habit 6, synergy. This is where the magic is. This is where 1 + 1 = 3 or 10 or even 100. It's all about genuinely valuing the differences people bring to the table to create things that no single person could have ever come up with on their own. The orchestra is such a perfect metaphor for this.
You don't want every instrument to be a violin, right? It's the unique sounds of the strings and the brass and the woodwinds all coming together. That's what creates a beautiful symphony. That's synergy in action. And that brings us to the final habit, the one that actually makes all the other 6 possible. It kind of surrounds them, supports them, and keeps them going.
Habit 7 is sharpen the saw. Just imagine trying to cut down a huge tree with a dull saw. You'd get totally exhausted and you wouldn't make much progress. It's way more effective to just stop, take the time to sharpen the saw, and then get back to work. Well, you are the saw. This habit is about taking regular time to renew yourself.
And to really sharpen the saw, you've got to work on 4 key areas of your life: the physical, the mental, the social and emotional, and the spiritual. The real key here is balance. If you neglect any one area, it's gonna affect all the others. But a small, consistent investment in each one, it pays off with massive dividends in your effectiveness. So that's the whole framework. It's a journey from mastering ourselves in the private victory to working effectively with others in the public victory, and it's all supported by this habit of constant renewal. So let's see how it all connects. This is the journey. The habits are really a path for growth along what Covey called the maturity continuum. We all start out as dependent kids. Then we work hard for independence, to be able to say, I can do it myself. But the ultimate goal for a highly effective life is interdependence. The understanding that together, we can achieve so much more than we ever could alone. Look, the most important thing to remember is that this is not about becoming perfect overnight. Not at all. It's about making progress. It's about making a choice to be just a little more proactive today than you were yesterday. And that brings us to the final and honestly the most crucial question. Knowing all this stuff is great, but it's only potential power. The real power is in the action. So look back at these 7 habits and just pick one. Which single habit, if you just lived it a little more consistently this week, would have the biggest positive impact on your life right now? Start there.